cars got burned because, it's the robots taking over. So we were like overjoyed because when we perform on the street, we see these Waymo cars driving all the time. And even the food carts drive right by us, the robots. I was taking care of a house this weekend, and there was an apartment down the hallway. A robot came vacuuming the hallway. They're taking over.
I saw your video in Hollywood when the food cart was crossing the street. Guess what? I made a mistake. I forgot to turn the live stream on during our whole intro.
You want to reintroduce yourself for my Hispanic brothers and indigenous resident undocumented citizens of California?
So I did put the title in a pro Spanish way. I put in El poder es del pueblo, es nuestra tierra en California. Power to the people. It's our land in California. We didn't move the border moved us.
Oh, so now the people that say they've always been here, who came here, but did they leave? Because they came back.
Well, the Spanish,
they've always been here.
The Spanish settled it in the 16 and 1700s, but they lost the Spanish-American Civil War. So I'm sure some families stayed and others. I know during the Depression, a lot of Mexicans were deported because there was a shortage of jobs.
They decided to come back because they weren't here. They came back across the border illegally. So they're saying they have the right to be here because they've always been here, but they left, right? The ones that are trying to get in, they left, right?
Right. So I'm not going to play the news clip again, but for those of us who were trying to tune into the excitement, there are fireworks being thrown. A police officer got something in his face, and there, in return, the National Guard is using pepper spray and tear gas, and the crowds are large. Let's face it. There's a million undocumented workers in LA County, and that's just a guess. So it's power in numbers, definitely power in numbers. And I'm surprised. I don't know if the National Guard helps or hurts because I guess ICE was not effective in going around their business, so that's why Trump did it.
The Marines are coming. Well, yeah, that's kind of the issue. Is that it's not just people protesting or even people getting violent. They're stopping law enforcement or officers of the federal government doing their job. Right? It's like if a cop's going to work and we start running out there and jumping between the car and the cop while they're arresting someone. That they're interfering. Right? They're not just peacefully saying we disagree with it. They're going to, and then they're trying to dox the cops or the ICE workers so that their identities are known, so they can go to their families and hurt them or attack them or kill them. Right?
They also damaged some police cars, like throwing stuff at the windshield. And I'm not taking, just so you know, I'm neutral tonight. I'm not taking one side or the other, but I don't believe in violence on either side. I'm sure if they were just standing there peacefully, it wouldn't even be news. But like your brother said, they are bringing in 700 Marines in now. And I'm just really not sure how that's going to go or where they're even going to be housed.
Well, like in any situation, when you go to pick someone up, you don't know if they have a weapon or a gun. You don't know if they're violent or nonviolent, a drug user, if they've been high, if they've human trafficked 50 kids, or if they're a guy who goes to work on a job site and is a good, hardworking illegal. So the question is, again, they're trying to deport people that shouldn't be here. They're just doing their job, and people are interfering with them doing their job. Like if you're going to school and there's people outside stopping you and getting in the way and your life is at risk, what should the government do with that? Should they just ignore it and say, you know what? You can break the law if you want to. We're powerless. We have armies, we got soldiers, we got, police. We're just not going to do anything.
Did you notice in other parts of the country, like people were crying while getting arrested, but they didn't have the corralling, the mass support that they do in LA. Like they probably didn't expect it, or the people who are providing the enforcement. I'm sure ICE didn't expect this.
I'm actually just looking up ticket prices and dates to go to the Philippines. So, Mike, I guess I have a question for you. If I were to just not have a passport or any ID, and just I buy a ticket and go down to LAX, and they say you need to present your passport, your ID, and I run past them and I try to jump on the plane, and you're on the plane, what should they do? Should they just say, you know what? He's already been here on the plane for a while, and he's got a girlfriend. He found a girlfriend on the plane. In fact, she's pregnant now because they had sex in the trying to do the 1 mile club. They did it and it's like we should just let him go on the plane and go, or should they stop me? Should they arrest me and pull me off of the plane?
Because you're using a plane as an analogy, since you might be undesirable, they could give you a one-way ticket to the Philippines and leave you there.
You think they would do that at LAX?
I'm just saying you're the one who created the analogy. Now I can factor in Trump just created a travel ban, and there's a bunch of children in Haiti waiting for surgery in America. So pretend you're a Haitian father, and you've been working in the U.S. a while, and your work visa ran out, and you want to go back to see your sick child. Now you can't. There's a travel ban.
Well, let's go with your example. I can get some really cheap dental work, and in fact, I'm going to actually get a exam here, get a copy of it, and then when I go over to the Philippines, whatever work needs to be done, I'm going to have it done there. Probably at a fifth the price. So again, I'm at LAX. I don't have a visa. I don't have a driver's license. I bought a ticket. I just want to run and jump on the plane.
You're not going to get very far. You need legal identification. You need a passport, and you need all the fundamental things to fly.
Right. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. You know that it would be wrong of me to run past them, to get some friends and start protesting, smash some windows, burn a car. That would be wrong, right?
Yes.
Okay. So this is.
But I do think
we're expanding it. That's all.
We're not. There's certain frameworks of right and wrong. Like, okay, let's just say 10 ICE officers in Pacoima. We're gonna go arrest 5 people one day. Now, maybe they could do it discreetly, like not even wear uniforms, but have identification. I don't know. When the National Guard came in, I'm not sure if the protests were already going on, but ICE was not effective in the sense that they were exposed. So the citizens, they were walking down by that waterless river, probably the LA River by Dodger Stadium. I'm not sure where it started, but I'm just saying the exposure was already taking place after the ICE exercise failed in a sense, because the ICE people couldn't get to what they were not
because activists were finding out getting information like, ICE or someone on the street say, I see an ICE vehicle here. They call their ringleader. Activist goes, we need 500 people over here at Chavez Ravine and Inglewood, whatever, right? And 500 people show up. Now the ICE workers are just trying to do their job, and now you have all these people showing up. And that's creating the problems, because now they can't do the work, and now there's resistance, right? If they do arrest someone, which they were doing, people start running up and going, no, you can't do that. You save Kilmore. But here's the issue. So let's continue, expand it. I fly to the Philippines. I have all my stuff. I've got my passport. I've got my ID. I did everything clean. I'm over there. I'm allowed to stay 30 days. If I stay beyond 30 days, I have to have a visa travel itinerary. I have to get approved by the government to stay 6 months or a year, or I'm getting married or whatever. And then you have to apply to the mayor or of the city and go, I'm getting married to so and so, and they have to vet me and the girl. Are you really in love? Are you really getting married? Or are you just doing a money scam? Okay, so here's the deal. 29 days comes up. Now it's 30. Now it's 31. What happens to me?
The Philippine government could either detain you or put you in a county jail, or if they stop you, you could be in trouble.
So the responsibility to leave is mine. I'm supposed to leave. I know it. I know if I stay, there's major consequences, and they can come to I'm hanging out with Slicky, right? And my bro, and then they go, we understand that so and so, John Yoder's here. Okay. Well, he's not. You can search my house. They find me, okay, and then they say you have to leave the country. They're going to arrest me. I go, but wait a second. I've got a girlfriend now. She's pregnant. I've been working. I got a nice job at the local store here. I help out. I'm part of the community. It's unfair that you're sending me away. Is that a good argument?
If you're in the Philippines, you can't really get away with it. But in the United States, all the times people overstay their visas.
Okay, but so and how again? But why is it different in our country than any other country? Any other country, Africa, Philippines, China, Russia, UK. At the end of 30 days, I have to leave. There's no exceptions, and there's consequences. So again, why is this big huff? Trump should just say, "Listen."
I think the problem that I was debating was. I'm not on one side or the other, but it's a macro level problem, because if you have, let's say there's like 20 major minor cities within the Los Angeles city, like Pacoima, Reseda, Encino, Northridge. Let's say every one of those cities had 200,000 illegals, and they knew that it was a risk to go in there. Maybe the ICE enforcement should go to another part of the country where they know it's not a risk and start there instead of starting in a hotbed city.
Well, what we could do, Trump could just say 4th of July, it's American Independence Day. Everyone here is illegal. You need to start booking. We'll arrange, 5,000, 10,000 people a day, whatever, so it's not a crunch. Over the next year, here's your ticket number, and you leave the country, and we can do it orderly. But here's the thing: people are not willingly leaving, and it's a mess because for 20 years it was ignored. They're breaking the law, and no one enforced it. So that's
right, and that's the problem, because a lot of them are established here. They had kids, their wife or their partner lives here, and after you make this point, I want to read one clip about the role of the National Guard and who determines their presence after you're done.
Right. So, again, does that, just because you're part of a community or you had kids or you got married, does that still give you the right to break the law? I mean, why have laws?
I don't think it gives people the right, but like when I was a school teacher in San Fernando, 95 to 99% of the kids were firstborn Americans, and their parents were all immigrants, and Spanish was the dominant language. And in that case, the parents were not required to show citizenship. They just had to show their address to enroll in the school, and there was no way to. There was no law in place saying that if you're not a citizen, you can't come to the school. The parents I'm talking about.
Right.
So there wasn't anything. Because of the numbers, I just think LA is a powder cake. But now, if I was a conservative watching the news today versus yesterday, the law enforcement is winning today. They are dispersing the crowds. people are running away. If they're scared to be arrested, so they're dispersing. They're not sticking around waiting to be arrested. Like some of them yesterday probably were fearless, but today they are running, and they are now fearful because they know that the tide is turning and that they're going to be put in the local jail if they don't either disperse or conform.
Right, because Trump isn't playing. He's just saying we're not going to play this game that Bush did, Obama, or Clinton, or Biden did. We said you need to leave. Leave. What's the problem with 2 or 3 million people or 10 million people saying, you know what, we need to go back? What's wrong with conforming? I mean, if I was in another country illegally, in the Philippines, again, day 31, I'm like, I got to get out of here. I go to the embassy, like, hey, don't arrest me. Please let me get out here. Everyone knows.
Well, I don't know about the Cubans in Miami, but the Mexicans seem to think that LA is their territory and it's their right to be there.
Right. And it's like, but wait a second, they're waving the Mexican flag. Why don't you go to the country you're waving the flag for?
Because that's how they self-identify. I can't answer all the questions.
That's why I'm presenting. It's like, why aren't they waving a United States flag if they want to live in America? If they're waving a Mexican flag, that means you want to go to Mexico, right?
Not necessarily, because I think because the Mexican-American presence is so strong in Southern California, they consider it their community and their right to be there. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just telling you what.
And then let's ask the question. So, what is the significance? Flags are symbolic. What's the symbolism when you walk up to an area and you put a flag on it? Like, say, if I walk into the middle of Cuba and I put an American flag on the ground and I stand there and I salute, what is that?
I can't answer that question.
But you know what it's symbolic
Samuel,
means? It means we take this land, right? That's what the flag means, right? Wherever you see the flag, we plant the flag, right? We're going to go to this land. It's ours now.
So I'm going to answer the question the way I know how to say it. And if your brother wants to be on the show, he'll have to call in. Okay.
Well, he didn't bring that point. I did.
Okay, I'm just saying, like, can I give you the answer? Because I actually have it. Samuel Huntington, the political science professor, said the last 20 years of the 20th century and the falling into this century, there's going to be ethnic clashes based on people's self-identity, and there's going to be battles within those cultures over their right to exist. And this is the kind of thing we're talking about. The Mexicans aren't perceiving it as I'm carrying a foreign flag in a foreign country. They're perceiving it as this is my ethnic identity, and I associate it with the land I'm living on, right or wrong, and that's my right to express that. Just like an LGBTQ person carries a rainbow flag because they have a right to identify that way in their mind. So I'm not. Yeah.
You identify as a political scientist, right? You study politics.
Yeah, but I wouldn't carry like in Minnesota. There are a lot of Finnish and Swedish flags in gift shops because and Norwegians.
You are an expert in this, correct? You have degrees in this, right? So
I'm not an expert because I'm only an expert on how I've lived my life.
Compared to uneducated a man such as me, you're an expert, correct?
I'm not going to come.
About music.
Okay, you're leading me down a dark path that I'm not going to answer to.
No, I'm not leading you down a dark path. I'm just asking a very simple thing.
Okay, I can't answer it. It can be interpreted people's right to assertion, right or wrong.
Okay, let me ask you a simple question. Are you male or female?
Female.
You're female. Okay, so we're just identifying things. You're a political scientist, so you're familiar with the process of politics. So again, when a person becomes an American citizen, because this is all about citizenship, right? We're educating ourselves about the process of being a citizen. What do you do when you become a citizen, you take these classes, right? And they have a ceremony, and they swear you in as a citizen, right? What do you say when you take the oath as a citizen?
Something to the effect that I, Jane Hoffman, promise to honor the Constitution and all the laws within the land.
And what about the flag?
And
do you pledge allegiance?
I swear a loyal oath to uphold the Constitution and to dedicate myself to the flag. I don't know the exact words.
States of America, right? And you actually have to identify all the presidents. Like most new citizens, they know more about our government than us, right? They have to study, who George Washington was, Abraham Lincoln, and the Bill of Rights and what the Declaration of Independence means. I mean, they probably could tell you all the freedom, the First Amendment, the Second, the Third. I don't know what's the Third Amendment. I know it, but I don't. I have to cheat and look, right? The point is,
I know what the Fourth Amendment is, the right to bear arms.
To be here legally, you need to abide by the laws of the land, honor our Constitution, honor and respect our flag, and you also renounce all other countries, flags, whatever. And not only that, you also state in that pledge that I do this on my own free will, no coercion. No one's forcing me to do this. That's it's like of my own free will.
Okay, first of all, you're talking about people who are becoming citizens, and half of these protesters out there are not citizens.
They're not citizens.
So what's your point?
They're not supposed to be here.
By the way, the Third Amendment is the government can't force private citizens to house or quarter soldiers like from England or other places.
Right, and they're not being forced to house these military.
Okay, you are being kind of like, I'm not saying you're being conservative, obnoxious, but can I bring up another point so we don't?
You can't. Go ahead, but
well, I just want to
wrap that one up though, and that is in this process, all Trump is doing is enforcing laws. We made laws. We want laws. He's enforcing them. What is the problem with enforcing our laws? Are we into anarchy?
I'm not saying you're asking me if I'm a citizen protesting. If that's how you feel, I feel like it's. Well, I would like to say something first. I've been waiting 5 minutes. The National Guard is primarily controlled by state governors for domestic emergencies. However, the President of the U.S. can also activate the Guard, especially in situations like rebellion or when the regular forces are insufficient to execute laws. So Governor Newsom was saying, I will answer your question. Governor Newsom was saying that he pretty much, not solely, but generally has the right to disperse the National Guard. And last week on the news, Trump said he was going to call particular states to draw up the National Guard, but they said primarily it would be conservative Republican states that would be the first to volunteer. So in this case, Trump drew up the troops of the California National Guard, but let's say he drew up the troops of the New Mexican guards and brought them to California because Newsom wouldn't comply. So what I'm saying is Trump does have the right to execute those laws because in the way that he sees fit, because he's president of the United States. What I'm saying as a political gravity host is that I don't know how effective it's going to be in a formally sanctuary city where there's a lot of regular citizens and illegal citizens who are going to put up a fuss. And as we could see, the cultural clashes that are creating the chaos, it's evident that there's a lot of conflict and it's only going to be settled by force. Now, in a few days, it's going to die down because people are going to realize there's something at stake. The violence isn't going to continue, in my opinion.
Good assessment. So there's two issues to this. Do we want to examine those? Because it is a political talk show.
Yes. I think your main. We've been on the air 24 minutes, so I think your main point is that whether it's the federal government or state government or ICE, they have a right to go in there and arrest the people they plan to do to follow the law, the immigration law, according to how it's already set up. People don't
Right.
like it, so they're pushing back.
Right. So here's the twofold issue. Gavin Newsom is the governor, so it means he rules, he controls. He's the little king of California. The president is not the governor. He's got the whole country to run. So the president will intercede when there's a national emergency that affects the citizens. But in general, it's up to Gavin Newsom to take care of things. So what has Gavin Newsom done the last, 8-10 years he's been around? He's allowed an open border. He allowed it. It's like, you have 3 million people coming in, or close to that, coming across the border. He's like, yeah. What did he do? Did he clamp down on it? No, he set up sanctuary cities. He allowed that. It's like, we want to actually protect.
I think the sanctuary cities have been around since like 1985. I was just letting you know.
Yeah, very good. Good research. And again, he didn't do anything to discourage that. He, in fact, fought against any resistance. And so basically, we have a governor who is basically saying, I don't care if people get in here illegally, and I'll protect them. I'll fight the government I'll fight for the rights of illegals over its citizens. So that's his position. So Trump is saying, okay, you're not going to do anything about it. You're not protecting my ICE, right? Newsom didn't say, I'm going to send out my best police force, and we're going to, protect these. Deny that. I'll ask the president to send out the National Guard to protect ICE. We're going to work with ICE. We're going to communicate. He's like, no, we're not going to help ICE at all. In fact, we'll allow resistance, and we'll release information. We'll get lawyers and fight Trump in court to the death, basically. And so Trump is saying, I'll just take care of business over you because I'm the president.
Yeah, it was my understanding that the LAPD were not going to cooperate with ICE. No, I don't know. But I know that there was some highway patrols and some other organizations that were cooperating with the National Guard from what I saw today.
Right, and then the twofold problem. So the first part is so you have people resisting. You have a governor saying, I'm going to allow this to happen, and I'll fight any attempt to correct this. And then you're having people block and impede, not just the ICE work, that's bad enough, but they're also blocking freeways. They're blocking streets. Imagine you have someone who needs an ambulance or a fire truck or a police have to respond to something. They can't get on the highway because you got all these people blocking it, chanting and throwing rocks and burning vehicles, so that's a safety health issue, and it's also resistance saying, listen, we can defy authority, we can defy the government down with, we don't want this American government. It's an insurrection. See, everyone was upset about January 5th or whatever. It's like, okay, well, this is an insurrection. It's like, but now
I am against blocking the freeway because traffic is bad enough on a regular basis.
I just have to go to work. It stops everyone from working. So then the other issue is this: is how many people are in here illegally? 20 million, 30 million.
Who knows?
Million. We know at least the last 4 years or 3 million a year. That's at least 12 million. It's over 10 million people. So that is a question. The Trump administration, how many people are they deporting a day?
I think they were trying to arrest 5,000 people a day nationwide.
Right. That's the goal, but the real number is what they're doing is about 1,000 a day. So we got 365 days, and I don't know if it's the same numbers on the weekend. I don't know if they have a day or two off.
Do they give people a chance to to withdraw money out of their bank accounts for the trip back?
I think once they arrest them, I think they get one call with a Mexican bullhorn, you just yell from your jail cell. So here's the thing. So 1,000, do the numbers, 1,000 people a day in a year, that's 365,000 people. In 3 years, you'll deport 1 million. But you've got 10 million to go. So in 30 years, they could do the first 10 million. And then if they want to get all 20 million, that's going to be 60 years. If they're going to do 30 million, that's 90 years. Do you see the logistics problem with that?
All I see is that the problem seems enormous. And if those people are going to be shipped back without even like $100 in their wallet and no relatives back where they came from, what are they going to do? They're going to be destitute.
Well, that's kind of the argument, but see, that's the argument of them coming over here. They don't have jobs. They don't have money.
Well, a lot of them do. A lot of well, let's just say 5 or 10 years ago, the ones that planned to come over had contacts in the U.S. They weren't I'm not saying all of them. I'd say at least 25% did.
Well, so
the point is that it's a huge mess. And
they know that this president's coming. They know that they're going to get deported.
Well, there's a big shift.
If they put up enough resistance, that they'll just, the will of the people somehow will break the government, right?
I was wondering, do you think any of the people who are here illegally, no matter what country they came from, like a couple of years ago, a bunch of Haitians moved from New York to Canada. Do you think some of them are trying to sneak into Canada?
They might, but you'll see some people crossing back the other way. But here, you bring up another great point, and that is Chinese, nationalists.
Trump is putting a ban, not a ban, but you know how like Chinese come here as guest scientists to work like in universities and stuff?
Right.
Trump now put a ban on high-tech Chinese science people, so the majority of them can't come in here anymore. And then it's going to create a vacuum in certain parts of the healthcare industry and universities.
Well, what's the biggest problem with having someone from China here on education school visa?
I know what you would say, but I'll just answer.
I like it. Read my mind because I like it. Because
you would think that they're a subversive threat and they're gonna like conduct an experiment to sabotage Americans.
Well, part of their deal is any Chinese citizen is whatever the government asks of you, you must divulge. Whatever. For whatever, and if not, it will seriously jeopardize your situation in the country, and if not yours, your families, your relatives, anyone, friends, anyone connected to you. The government will double down and make your life a living Hades. So, and everyone knows that in China, and if you even ask them, will this have implications? Oh, no, there will be no implications. How come? Because if I say anything different, I will face retribution. So that's the reason why. Any product going to China, they have to divulge secrets, the plans, schematics, all the technology that goes over there. They soak that in. It's like, oh, we'll take it. Our government's different in that way. We don't force our students to go over to another country. Like, you have to divulge everything you know about, the class, the places you go, the technology. You're working with Apple or whatever. We don't force people to do that, but they do. They smuggle information, they download it, and they send it across, and that's how they get so much technology. They're very smart.
Well, I'm not saying, like, let's say they were bringing up a Chinese person who had already made big strides in creating a medical plan for people with HIV and another debilitating disease I can't remember right now. And he had all this critical research that he was going to implement at a particular place. And he was one of the people they were considering not letting come over. So there are exceptions to the rule. I don't really know how it works. I think it's in the works. I don't think the ban has been effective yet, but I do now remember a few shows back, I'm not sure if you were on it, Suzette said that like she called it like the brain drain. Like there are people brought into this country specifically who have certain levels of expertise, either in computers or science or something, and those people are automatically allowed in the country because of their talents.
Right, we like to get all the best to bright minds, but it's interesting. You take Wuhan. We sent a lot of we built a level 4 lab, a bio lab, and then we spent about, I think it's 4.6 mil to build the lab, authorized by Fauci. So we had this Wuhan, this COVID break.
Be careful what you say about COVID, because a lot of I've had 4 shows removed because of your conservative perspective. I've had 4 shows move off of YouTube.
And isn't that telltale?
Because I don't think Fauci created the Wuhan lab. He might have investigated it, but he didn't create it.
Well, he recommended actually that it go to Wuhan, and then Obama said,
why?
Because as he claimed and as others claimed, it was too dangerous to be in America. If it ever escaped the it'd be like a bio weapon. It was what do they call it? It's for there was a big thing they were talking about. It's like, it's not pay for play, but it's like it was for profit kind of situation. It would be a volatile situation. And Obama didn't even want to leave, but if actually we need to send it out. So it goes over there, it escapes, and the whole government, including the World Health Organization, wanted to know, give us all the information.
We're only going to talk about this 30 more seconds because I don't want my show to get eliminated.
Right. So the bottom line is, it's been sealed, and all the information's gone. Anyone who reported and said there's a problem got disappeared or in prison, and that's the whole issue. There's not an open door policy. They don't have full disclosure.
Okay.
Right, with the government.
All I know is that you're probably going to disagree with me on this. But let's say there's 5 smart girls from Pakistan who managed to read and get like at an advanced degree level in spite of the government. Let's say 3 of them want to come here to become an interpreter for the U.S. government. They want to be back. They want to use their language, whether it's Farsi or something else, to interpret for the NSA. Something. Right. Now, it seems like Trump, he just made a travel ban for, I think it was between 5 and 12 countries. I don't think you can blanket, you can't cherry pick that everybody from every country is the same. Like the Haitians are already the poorest country in the world, and now they have medical problems and other barriers, and now their parents can't even bring their kids over here for surgery because Haiti's on the travel ban. So, certain things like that just seem really unfair.
It's an interesting situation. As you know, Pakistan is at war with India, and then Trump had to physically intervene or get on the phone or however it was. I think he was in travel when he was over in Saudi Arabia, but he had to basically connect between Modi of India and whoever's in charge of Pakistan. You have to patch this up, or you're going to get tariffs, and there's going to be trade, money consequences. And so, okay, we're going to stop firing off and knocking down each other's fighter jets.
Did you know Pakistan? Did you know, you're probably talking about this, Pakistan and India are in a major confrontation right now.
Oh yeah. That's why I was mentioning is that Trump had to intervene. They were escalating into launching some nukes at each other. I mean, that's kind of the next step. You start shooting down planes, and then maybe you send in some troops, try to keep it superficial. But they've always been fighting. So now here's the question: in counterintelligence, do you send a terrorist guy who's a military man who's fought in 3 wars? Do you send them over the country, or do you send a cute 19-year-old girl from a sweet family and going to college to study? Do you send them in as a double agent, secret agent? And how do you vet that? I mean, you'd have to have people on the ground knowing her.
Hold on. Just
Hello.
Suzette, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I don't know what happened.
Do these nations have a right to come into
Okay,
America?
John, I have to interrupt this a minute. You were cut off for 45 seconds because I was calling Suzette.
Oh, that's okay.
So say hi to her quick.
Hey, Susie Q.
hey, how's everybody doing?
So we,
Hey, you know,
John, I'm gonna bring her up to speed than you are. Thank you for calling in, Suzette. We were talking so much I didn't see the other call, but we started out the show just discussing what's going on in LA, the sheer numbers of Mexicans in LA who don't want ICE there or law enforcement or the National Guard, the resistance that they're posing, the violence on both sides. And now John and I are talking about letting Chinese students in for research. So John, why don't you bring her up to speed while I use the restroom?
well, we engaged the conversation. I took the viewpoint that basically people who are here illegally should not be here. They should leave. A lot of people are throwing up the whole deal that this is the people's land, that these are indigenous people that have been here before, to which I've replied, actually, they weren't here. They were born in other countries and came here. You know, if they were from here, they wouldn't have left, right? So they're coming in from another country, and that they're waving their flag, and that means that symbolically, when you plant a flag or wave it, you're displaying that I own, that this is my territory. That's the significance of flags when you plant the flag. And that to become a citizen, you need to renounce your flag. You accept and support and pledge oath to our Constitution, to our country, to its laws, and to its flags. And that's how you become, and you do that of your own free will. No one's forcing you. That's all part of the oath. I said, so if anyone who is a citizen is renounced that country, the country of their origin, and they need to renounce that to become a citizen and to obey our laws. And anyone who's here illegally is not obeying our laws. They need to leave. We shouldn't have to run and chase them down. We should say from July 4th on, you know, like take a number and we'll systematically get you all out. But and you'll comply. And I gave the example, I have to have a passport and citizen ID to get a ticket to go to the Philippines. And I said, what happens if I get a ticket, but I don't have any ID or passport, and I just run and jump on the plane? I said, what do you think's going to happen? Well, they'll arrest me. Even if I have all my credentials and proper paperwork, if I land in the Philippines, I have 30 days without an itinerary. I could stay there for 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, if I'm not out, I have to leave the country. So again, they may come to arrest me in that country, and I would, as a law-abiding person, I go, I need to leave. They don't have to hunt me down. I should go and say, I need to leave. And here's what people are saying. Well, but John got a girl pregnant there, and he's starting a family, and he's part of the community. He works at the grocery store to support his girlfriend, and he's a nice guy. And he would still say, he needs to leave the country because he's here illegally. And they're making this to be such an issue.
Okay, so let's give her a chance to respond.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Suzette?
I overwhelmed her with my logic.
Suzette? Let me see if she...
Oh, no, I was just waiting for him to finish, and then I was going to respond about that.
Are you eating dinner?
So, by the way, Suzette, you weren't part of that group that was like burning the Waymo cars or throwing rocks at the police or ICE today and yesterday, were you?
All day long. No.
I know it.
I don't think
That's why you called in late.
her electric wheelchair wouldn't make it that far.
Oh, you don't know. You do not know, Suzette.
I had to stop at a charging station, Tesla up.
Very funny.
She had to get the Neuralink so her legs would start moving.
Exactly.
John.
Well, I know California, we went to war and basically won because we kicked Mexico's butt. So as far as indigenous land and Mexico's land, we won. I mean, that's all there is to it. If this was you wanted to keep your land, then, you should have beat us, but you didn't. So that's that. It's not a matter of we took it, we fought for it, and we won. And that's it. That's the end of it. You want it back? Well, take us on again. See what happens.
Homie's lost.
Homie's lost. Yep. That sounds crude and direct, but I can't help it when they constantly say, this was our land, you took it from us, and it's like, well, sort of, but not really. You guys didn't know what the hell you were doing, and so you lost, and that's all that happens. We were stronger. As to them flying their flags or anything else, for me, that just, if they really wanted to stay here, didn't want to be deported to their home countries where, and I'm not just saying Mexico, I'm talking anybody, from Africa, from Somalia, from Venezuela, wherever they come from, if they're here illegal. Even that's that. Why would you fly your flag? You should be flying the American flag to show that you love this country so much and you want to stay. You want to stay, and I'm showing my patriotism by flying your flag, even though I'm here illegally. I don't want to go back home. Flying your home flag, your home country flag, is disrespectful. Like John said, go back home. If you love it so much, what are you doing here? Why'd you make that trek? Why did you pay so much money to get here? I don't understand. And then have to watch your back the entire time you're here and then plead you want to stay? I don't think so. As far as student visas go, the people that are so-called here legally, and that's because they've been granted the permission to enter our country and study, research, or whatever it is that they're doing, they've been granted that permission. It's not something that is granted to everyone that applies for a visa. There's got to be a reason, whether it's a work visa, whether it's an education visa, something that you've been granted permission to enter for. So
it's not a right. You don't have a guaranteed right. Oh, okay.
Exactly. And so that means when you apply for a visa, you also agree to certain conditions under which you will receive that visa. Doesn't mean, it may have a condition in there that says, you're here to study and that's it. Basically, you live here, you study, when you're finished, you go home. That does not give you the right to protest this country, to protest anything, as far as the conditions that you're here for. And so these students that are out there claiming free speech, but they're here from some other country on a student visa, they're actually not entitled to those rights of free speech or to speak against this country.
So they should apply as a political activist. I've come here to this country to protest your government and to stand up for the rights of the global whatever community.
To spread political discourse, and these are the ones that are taking over the colleges and basically holding staff hostage and so on and so forth, and then we have to spend our resources, which are our, local police, to get them out of there and barricade the building that they're in and, fire resources, firefighter resources to, take out the fires and so on and so forth. So, it's all BS. And I was watching a lot of the protests, and I was looking at, there were a few on there that could be easily identified as paid agitators. And it's not a conspiracy theory, because there are out there, and I can name the groups, a couple of groups, Momentum and Sunrise group that pays political activists to go out there to do these fake protests anyway, and they're trying to gird these people up as far as stand your ground. They'll be the only one there, like this lady was, and she's all covered up with her jihadi outfit or whatever, and
just a minute, Suzette, Don just busted into the call. Okay.
Hey.
Don, let Suzette finish. She's talking. Thank you.
Right.
Hi, Don.
The resistance is here. The resistance has arrived.
So
I'm the peaceful person.
Okay.
Okay,
She was in.
Piece?
Can you repeat your last? Can you repeat your last sentence, Suzette? Because it was a good one.
They're political groups that anywhere they're needed, they're paid to go out and agitate the protesters or try and drum up a protest. Like there was all over Facebook as far as emergency protest in LA against the ICE agents and stuff like that. And so they'll be put in targeted key places. There was a woman, there was a man in another area, and she's moving along with the crowd, but she's telling them, stand your ground, you know, and she's got a megaphone. You got others that are yelling other stuff on the other side of town to get people to do stuff and really just get it all going on. And one guy had gotten shot because the girlfriend was caught up in that. And, you know, he says, I was low-key responsible for getting shot with a rubber bullet. And he admitted it, he was interviewed and admitted that he was partly responsible because him and his girlfriend were there. But anyway, so I'll just wrap up with this by saying, you've been given a way out. These people have been given a way out. If they truly want to stay, Donald Trump said self-deport and then apply. And that way you can come here legally. If you get deported because you got arrested or did a crime or just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time because they were after somebody that was a criminal that needs to be deported, but you were in the same area and you get swept up and you get deported, well, you don't have a chance to come back. You've been cut off because you were arrested and taken out rather than self-deporting. So self-deport is a free plane ticket. Apply, come back. Otherwise,
but Suzette, realistically, how many people would be willing to do that?
Not very many. So I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense to risk getting deported forever, because that means that you really didn't want to be here. So I don't know. Anyway,
I just think
that's all I have to say about that.
Let me just bring Don up to speed. Don, we're discussing the clash between the National Guard, ICE, and the citizens of Los Angeles who are protesting the presence of ICE and also the National Guard, and pretty soon it'll be the Marines. And I pretty much said it's a cultural clash, that the sheer numbers of Mexicans who live in LA, whether they're legal or illegal, are not going to tolerate it. And they know that there's safety in numbers.
Okay, all of that is true. And the cultural part of it is the big thing. If everybody is listening, because I've been looking at it too tonight when I got in from work. That's partially why I was late. I was looking at it because a lot of that was going on by the LA Times, and that's where we were, Jane.
Yep,
So,
we worked there.
Yeah, well, you saw them tagging the building, and luckily the building is, granite and marble, so it's easy to get off. But it was kind of like it was kind of a bummer looking at them, like tagging my building. but this is perpetrated by 4547. So that's all I can say right now. This is a power grab meant to try to bankrupt California and any blue state that is close to kind of being.
Do you really think
opposed to the what's going on?
Don't you think they're kind of like they're I don't know if it would affect the economy by deporting like 2,000 illegals. I think if they raided the San Joaquin Valley of fruit pickers, it might. But
it'll be devastating to the prices, because if they take those fruit pickers out, that's the heartland of our fruit and vegetable in the country. So that's going to.
We don't have any more fruit pickers here in California. We didn't have any farms for the people to pick the fruit.
What do you mean by that, Suzette?
I mean, all the farms around here in California, gone. They've been bought up by corporations. They do not exist, not even local farmers anymore. We used to be able to have farmers markets where you could get fresh fruit and vegetables from local farmers. Don't exist. Do not exist. I looked them up in the as far as the phone book goes for the internet, any local farms at all. And the ones that were on there, sorry, you've been good customers for like 63 years or whatever, but we've had to close our doors.
How about Central and North? How about Central and Northern
Well,
California?
So, Don, you were saying, no, okay, wait a second. They're in the cities deporting people. If those are farm workers, you know where they are? They're in Santa Maria, they're in Gilroy, they're in Bakersfield. They're not in the cities here. What farms are around here? You're making a very illogical, and you're speaking the opposite because the power grab is. Let me finish my point. You can talk for 5. The power grab. You see, everything you say is in reverse. The power grab is Newsom allowing the governor who controls California allowed free open border, 3 million a year, and sanctuary city even encouraged it.
Said he was going to deport 1 million. He's got what, 10,000?
Right, because people should just self-deport, but they're not. So they're arresting 1,000 a day. That's 365 in a year. So it takes 3 years to get rid of 1 million. So which means it's going to take 30 years. I'm saying to take care of 10 million. It's going to take 60 years to get 20 million out. It's going to take 90 years to get 30 million out, which they think we have. So what we're looking at is an impossible situation. At the current rate, they got to double or triple it and get a significant going. But California is 50%. It's a majority minority, right? So like 30% Hispanic and then black, and so it's like half of it's white and half of it's mixed. That's intentional. The power grab is Newsom wanting to swing elections so he can win.
But this is all Democratic states. This is not just California that he's ultimately trying to break or bankrupt. And California is the best, first and the best. And they're going to
because of illegal aliens, we're the first and the best.
We can't help bankrupt them if the ICE agents are the ones that are out there. Miriam Bass was withholding the LAPD from helping ICE, and so for the longest time it was ICE agents, and then they sent out the National Guard out there to help them, and finally LAPD. So as far as resources go, what resources? So far it's all been federal. And not to mention, if there is a farms that do exist, more or less, I would say probably close to 85 to 90% of the farms that do exist are big ag farms. And so they don't even use migrant anymore pickers because they have new equipment that actually can pick cherries and pick apples and pull stuff from the ground. And because they're big ag farms, they can afford that equipment. And it's a lot faster, it's more efficient, and so they don't need people picking anything anymore. So, you know, if you're up for treating people inhumanely, then you want those people here, the pickers, because basically they live in shanties, they get low wages, and they're out there in the sun, you know, baking, maybe even in the rain, depending on how their bosses or farmer people have them out there picking, if they are picking. And what kind of life is that? What kind of life is that? And you're subjecting it to them. Yeah, no wonder Americans won't do those jobs. No wonder Americans won't clean toilets or, you know, dig tunnels or whatever for highways or this or that. Because it's inhumane. It's inhumane. And for the amount of money that they get paid, but they just want a better life. You know, well, now they can't get out of here because they realize I can't do anything while I'm here illegally that will give me a better life. So I can't get home so that I can apply to be there legally. So I'm stuck. I'm screwed.
Keep in mind, too, that now it used to be about 11 years, but if you wanted to get your citizenship, it takes now about 14 years.
It takes 12. It takes 12.
Yeah, it takes anywhere from 12 to 14.
But you're here during that time, and you're here progressing through the process of learning English, taking civil classes, and doing things to be able to integrate into American, being American. And so that way, by the time you've completed that term, that process, you're ready to go. You are American. You take that pledge. You denounce your previous country, your home country, and now you're able to blend. You're able to speak the language. You're able to self-support. There's a reason for that process, because people don't want to integrate. And I know for a fact that anybody that's here that doesn't speak English, you're there illegally. Because that's part of the process. You have to be able to speak the language, articulate the language, read the language, and if you can't do any of those things, then you're illegal.
Well, but John, so why do we have immigration laws? Why do we have a border? Do you believe in having immigration laws, or what's your reasoning? Should we have zero borders? Anyone can come in any reason, anytime?
No, you know what I think. We're fine with the border control. Everybody else in the world has control of the border.
Yes.
Yeah, when I can travel, I got to make sure that everything's in order, passports, documents, ID, all that stuff has to be in order. And that's fine. There's no problem with it. You just do it. But the border should be made in the north. Because we're talking only about half of the migrants. I'll put them all in one basket. The migrants, only half of them come from the Mexican border. Most of them the other half come from the Canadian border. And that's where people are missing the whole point. And they're starting to make a bigger presence there in Canada because if they could put a wall on the south, they should put a wall on the north. I've said that many times on the show. So that's one of the things that I would like to see if they were going to put some wall up. But I know both borders, and the Canadians are, I'll say it, extremely careful, because in all reality, they're a bunch of bigoted bastards. So, they have a very, very, very tight border, and they do a lot of things that are relatively illegal to make sure that people of color especially don't get through.
There's a lot of Africans in Canada.
What'd you say?
There's lots of Africans in Canada.
That's African.
That's Somalians, Ethiopians.
That's Africans.
Okay. Liberians.
That's not African Americans. That's a whole new breed. We're a breed of people.
I don't think Canada's prejudice.
What'd you say?
I don't think Canada's prejudice.
You're got those rose-colored glasses on. Get a boyfriend, black boyfriend, take him to Canada, see how much trouble he has getting to, even with a passport.
Okay.
Go ahead and tell me how it goes, because every time I go to Canada, pretty much, except once, I've been harassed, or the last time I was turned back. So now I've got to go through the Canadian consulate if I were to return. So there are things that I've had trouble all over the world. So it's nothing new to me. But for the most part, the Canadians are very strict at who they let in as African Americans, because they know that the stories, that they hear about every black man is a pimp, and John knows those.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna do some research.
I love the pimp. Well, here's the thing, Don, because I like when you throw out statements. I like to research a little, and I like to AI Google. I don't know if you trust it or if you use sources like that. It says that the crossings at the Canadian border are a fraction of what crosses the southern border. Also, last August, it is averaging 10,000 a month. So you can figure for a year that's 120,000 people compared to 3 million. So that means 300 to 1. So again, you're going. It's 100 people at the Canadian, or it's significant. Once again, you're speaking, I don't know, MSNBC facts or something. I don't know. But the point is,
Yeah,
and it's
in Minnesota, the international border is so small. They have like a one wooden door. I mean, like they have 2 moose and a door up there.
But it's
again, 120,000 people a year compared to 3 million. You know, that's nothing. It's insignificant. Now they might be more dangerous, maybe.
no, they're coming in through boats and ferry planes.
They were having 10,000 people a day compared to 10,000 a month in from our southern border.
Yeah, no, I mean it's okay. Half. All right, let me tell you.
You can tap out. You can say, you're right. I had a good point.
No, because they're coming in. When they come in through the north, they have more money. Generally.
They do have more money.
They generally have more money, and they have the capability of coming through with buses, planes, anything, trains, who knows what.
You
But the majority
still need a real
ID.
ID.
In California, they're going to vote. They're going to have a baby, and they're going to shift the population base.
You still need
They've already done that.
You need a real ID to get into Canada. It's an enhanced driver's license. And
Right.
the border in Minnesota is at International Falls. It's podunk. And the only boats that go into Canada are the ferry from Washington State, the Puget Sound, into Vancouver.
So it's logistics, because people, to get to Canada, you have to fly in. So immediately you have to have money, you have to have a passport, all this stuff. So the only other people that can come from Canada who haven't flown in are people up from the upper north, from Antarctica or, I don't know, Greenland. Those aren't going to be, and there's no one up there. But if you go to the southern border, you've got Central America, Mexico, Central America, South America, and you have it's the logistics. You can get, Peter, Paul, and Mary to cross the border, or Jose, Pedro, and Maria. But in Canada, you have moose and polar bears and stuff.
The polar bears are more up by Alaska. They have brown bears, black bears, and grizzly bears.
Oh, there you go. That's unbearable.
That's unbearable. Okay.
Well, why don't one of your... John, you owe me a visit from 15 years ago. So get your butt up here and I'll take you to Canada.
Oh, my goodness. I can hardly wait. I'll get a parka.
You have to come in the summer months.
Parkas are great.
Well, what do you think's going to happen?
Wait, let's check on Suzette. Suzette, are you still here?
They're going to deport you.
Yes.
Oh, good.
I was just reading the comment on Facebook that my husband was showing me, and it was about Donald Trump. And I was reading through it, and I'm like, what? And she was talking about the LA riots, and all of it's Donald Trump's fault. And that he had asked the governor for permission to bring the National Guard here.
I like what he's doing.
We did cover that, Suzette. I read how the governor and the president, who's able to coordinate the National Guard and who has higher authority.
Mm-hmm.
They both are. They're both allowed.
Right. No, I'm just telling you what the post I was reading a moment ago was about. Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised, though, that Don isn't talking about Elon and Donald Trump breaking up.
By the way, in northern Minnesota, a guy who went off the rails and lost his mind mentally, he killed the elderly man with a moose antler.
Oh, mercy.
Yay. I bet the moose was really sad.
Well, I think the antler was already off the moose.
Thank you.
Maybe I should start using the antlers to corral the people. So what do you guys think? I mean, to pull out all these millions of people, it sounds like they just want to struggle and have court cases and spend 50 years trying to get 2 people out of the country.
Well,
I just think it's an overwhelming mess.
It's another way for him to bilk Americans.
Why don't you just leave the Mexicans here? Let them use their push carts to sell taquitos and burritos and tamales and leave them alone.
Because that would kill a lot of businesses that have brick and mortar facilities, and basically they have to comply with regulations as far as food regulations and their vendors, how much they charge and how much their vendors pay in taxes, and the regulations that they have to pay to be on board with. And so you're just going to let these other people just no taxes, no regulation, make people sick because they don't have the proper temperatures of food.
Well, I'm just saying,
whether it be cold or hot.
Those push carts have. I know what you're saying, but the community is already flowing from these low discount tamales.
Right, that's why we need to get them off the street. See, I can't go get a cart and start rolling around and selling hot dogs or anything without a business license and
Well, here's a follow-up, though. Here's a follow-up. Jane, would you want to live in Boyle Heights, Elysian Park? Would you like to live in East LA?
I did.
Would you rather live in
I lived in Boyle Heights when I worked at SOS.
Yes. Did you feel that community?
I already knew it was. I was a police informant, and it was a dangerous community.
Yes, and that's what you're inviting. You're inviting a whole bunch of people on the street. I play in Hollywood each weekend. You have all these homeless people, and then you go across town, driving down Mid-Wilshire, go to downtown. It's a mess. Go to Elysian Park, go to Cesar Chavez, Avenue. I know the whole story. I lived there 17 years. And you're saying let's just have more of this. Let's in fact open the board. Let's double and triple.
You've been to my apartment in Boyle Heights. Remember?
Right. And then you go down to the car. The car's broken into. Right. There's just gunshots all night long. There's homies, gang, the barrio. You really think that we should have more of that?
No, what I'm saying is that they're already here, and it seems like so much chaos is being created by arresting some people that it seems like a defeating problem.
Yeah, well, I agree there, but these taco carts, let's just say we allow people to do that. Because they're not making a whole lot of money, but they're being self-sufficient, so we should be happy about that they're not on the government tee. But then you invite crime with that, because there are homeless people out there that are not sane. Not all of them, but there are enough. And they may not even be the violent ones unless they get triggered, or there's just thugs that are out there because they just want to knock over a taco stand, so to speak, taco cart. So now you're inviting those people that own those little businesses with the carts to be, you're inviting crime now, because basically desperate people will steal, or just to be mean, knock your cart over. Now you've lost business day, work day. So, it exposes people to unnecessary hardship, especially in those areas, high-risk areas, because they're not going to bring the taco carts into Hollywood.
I think like
the Palisades or, to rich parts.
Where I taught school,
just like we say, they already do.
Where I taught school in Pacoima, it was more controlled because the residential part of the city was all Mexican, so nobody was messing with each other. But if you're pushing a taco cart at like MacArthur Lake near downtown LA, it's a whole different story.
Well, not only that, consider this, and that is Trump has this, and this encapsulates the Elon Musk, Donald Trump situation. Musk wants to come in and radically, like the patient is frozen to death. Let's turn on the heat to, 100 degrees, dump them in a hot water bath. Let's thaw them out right now. Let's cut everything. Let's zip it. He walks into companies. He fires 70-80% of the staff, and there's a big disruption, but it's effective, right? For a company, for an entrepreneur. But here's the problem: is like, you just killed 80% of the people. It's like they get the frostbites. Like they're losing the body limbs. You have to slowly reacclimate to the temperature to survive. So Trump is in charge of a whole country. So he's going, Elon, do some cuts in here, make a big splash, but we got to get the big, beautiful bill. The country has to survive. We have to float more debt. We have to spend more money, keep some programs going, and gradually, ease our way back to survival. So that's the same thing with these situations. The idea is seal the border. So stop the bleeding. Stop people coming here. That is cut. Stop people flying in and all these students. Just shut it down. And now slowly start to work the like whether it's 1,000 people a day, 2,000, 5,000, you gradually get people out, and you go back to survival, back to 37 trillion. You got to get that back down. You can't do that in 6 months or even 4 years. It's a process.
But the big beautiful bill is raising the national debt.
Oh, sure, you got to do that, but you have to keep things floating. You also have to keep business going. He's brought in 14 trillion of new business. That's going to blow away a lot of this stuff. You have to move forward. But the point being is that you have to have the country moving forward, and you can't have more people coming in anymore. You can't have people break the law anymore. You have to shut the border down. You have to enforce the law. And what you guys are saying, no, just let it keep being lawless. Don't have any stop signs. People run those stop signs. Don't pay your bill. Don't pay. Just everything collapse. Anarchy. Blow it up. No, it's like you got to get people out, and there will be families busted up. It's like if I go to the Philippines in 30 days, I have to get out of town. I don't care if I knocked up a girl. I don't care if I've got 5 businesses I started out there. I have to leave. No one questions that. Why are we questioning our country doing what every other country on the planet does? I don't see the logic of that.
I think it's just because it's a big shock because of the way that it's being done. And they forget what it was like when they did it back in 74, when they had Operation Wetback. And so when they cleared everybody out, we're not supposed to be here. And so people are very emotional, more emotional than they were then, even though there were issues as far as with the way that was done as well, but not as intense as it is now because of all the emotional people that are just attached to, they don't even know what. But I do agree that Elon Musk basically took an axe without considering the people, and not to say that I'm defending him when I say he's autistic. He doesn't really have emotion, or people that are like him. And when I say that, I mean like they're analytical. There's no emotion in anything that they do. It's about numbers and about the A to B, the shortest way to get there. And so and that's the way he is. That's his personality. Problem, get rid of it. As far as that goes.
When robots go crazy, right? He went robot crazy. He's like, okay,
he did.
Impeach Trump. He's on Epstein's list. Get rid of him, kill him, replace him. I will be around for 40 years, and I will support whoever I can eliminate.
He was having a temper tantrum, and so when he got cut, and his programs got cut as far as the mandate on EVs or any other funding towards his special projects that Elon had. When that got cut, he had a bill. You're on Epstein's Island. I'm going to throw that out there. That'll do you. Just because he doesn't know how to act. He's not comfortable in his own skin. Anyway, so what I'm saying is we will be able to achieve that savings whether or not the deficit in this bill goes up. And I told you last time on this program that I thought the big, beautiful bill sucked. And I thought that Republicans suck right now. And I didn't use those words specifically, but, they do. And so what I'm saying is it will not hurt us in the long run because, and this is a bad thing, it's going AI. They're signed with Peter Thiel, as I had mentioned last time, and I didn't go into detail as to how Palantir was going to be used, but now he's having talks with Social Security and IRS. All this government data will be available to Palantir in order to streamline all of these services. So where we thought things were bad already, where you don't really get to speak to people anymore for customer service, you got to press 1 for this or 2 for that, it's going to get worse because it's all going to be AI. It's all going to be digitized. And so that's what their plan is. And so you don't need people, 80,000 people to run the IRS if you've got a big, beautiful machine in there. And I say that sarcastically as far as the big, beautiful part. And I think it's very, very bad because Palantir, you can't have all this data on every American centralized in one center, with one company. And not to mention that this company has been with the government, our federal government, since 2011. Okay, he was hired. He had government contracts with under Obama. He had them under Bush. He had them under Trump and under Biden. But the thing is now is each time that he signs contracts with the government, those contracts increase and lead to other agencies to go collect data. And he made a statement, and I had tracked it down. And he had said, basically, it's great because we have all this data that we can share with third-party people. So third-party, nonprofits. So they are able to have this available to them too. And it's like, well, it makes it sound like, they're able to have this wrench too or this hammer too, but it's people's private lives, all of their data. When you were born, when you got married, when you took a poop, what doctor you see, where you go, everything, all in this one beautiful machine that Palantir has built. And that's where we need to have our conversations all over the place right now to object to this. Because this is, as far as the immigration thing, okay. They're having a protest, and the more it's talked about, the more it's shown on TV, the more fuel it gains, and it's a distraction. Because right now we need to worry about Palantir and those government contracts that not already have been signed, but are in the process of being signed as far as talks and all that in the works. And we need to start expressing our objection to that because otherwise we're going to be in real trouble as far as privacy goes.
It's spy versus spy because you have the machine which Elon is building with AI, but then Elon exposed the excesses of the machine, right? Like, these are all this we didn't even know all this wasted government money was going out. He's identified it. It's like spending all day cleaning the toilet so beautifully, wiping off all the fecal matter, and then comes another person and they're with the runs, diarrhea. They just dropped the load in there, and they didn't even flush, and they got stuff all over the floor. And you go, I just spent all day cleaning this, and the next bill's they just took another dump right there, and nobody cared. And so that's what is pissing them off. Besides his billions of dollars in contracts
I'll tell you what I think, John. I think he had planned it that way. I think, when he said go Doge and presented it to the president, as far as what he wants Doge to do for the government, as far as locate that waste and fraud and yada yada, because he already had it in his mind how to cut the deficit, cut the spending, basically, and so it doesn't cost us that much, because he already was thinking, okay, so I found money here, waste and fraud here, cool. All right, so we don't need this many people to operate this agency, so you're gone. This agency, same thing, you're gone. Okay, so we found all this money, which is a lot of money, but in the grand scheme of what the deficit is, it's like a pocket change, what he found as far as waste and fraud goes. But it helps. It absolutely helps as far as to eliminate that. But he's also eliminating these jobs in order to replace with AI. You said yourself, he's building this machine. We've got Palantir contracts, and so this whole feud about with him.
He is the machine. Musk is the machine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. But I'm just saying, as far as why would Republicans otherwise pass this thing, knowing how much spending it is? I mean, yeah, okay, there are a lot of them that would go along with it, but normally this would be a Democrat bill, and there would only be a handful of Republicans. But there are only like 4 Republicans, maybe 3, 4 is being generous as far as the amount of people that oppose it. And why? There should be more that oppose it. It's not that they're afraid of Donald Trump. It's just because they've been notified and made aware of what the agenda is, and that is to have government run AI. AI will run government. And so those other people are like, yeah, that's a good idea. That would be more efficient. This and that. I got my stocks. I'll just invest in these companies and I'll be sitting pretty and not have to lift a finger. And I mean, it all makes sense to me. I've been putting the dots together and I'm like, son of a bitch. And so, yeah, this was all planned. And I'm just, I'm sick. I'm just sick.
Wow. What say Dawn? What say Jane? I think the robot got him.
You
And
guys,
Dawn?
I think it's just you and me, Suzanne.
Dawn's probably eating ice cream. I was in the kitchen briefly. I have to end the show in 10 minutes. We've been on the air an hour and 24 minutes. Don Gallimore, are you present?
He's in a sugar coma.
Here, I can look it up on my phone. Hold on. I can look at the managed calls. Just a minute. He hung up.
I wonder why.
Might have dropped. Maybe his wife grabbed the phone.
Maybe it was too much for him to handle.
Maybe he's in Canada trying to cross the border.
I mean, it doesn't mean everything I said was right as far as where it's all coming from, but just connecting the dots. And I have plenty of time to do that, and it keep digging and connecting and digging and connecting, and so that's more or less where my thought comes from. But it just makes sense the way the direction everything is going and falling into place, and what's been done so far.
It is a question, though. Say you're Trump, and you want to be president. Like, you realize, I mean, like a year ago, it's over. I mean, for a lot of people, I mean, his supporters, even like Ben Shapiro saying, like, oh, Trump's done. Like there's, he's lost it. Like, he doesn't have the magic anymore. No one's going to follow him. And now he's like, oh, Mr. Trump won, sir. And the point is, to get elected, he knows he needs to use certain people like Elon Musk. It's like World War II. It's okay. Hitler's bad. Stalin's bad. But we could use Russia to take out him, and then we can go after Japan. It's like at the end of the war, was it good? Well, for some people, yeah. But for the Eastern Bloc, like Czechoslovakia, Poland, all those countries, East Germany, terrible, right? But what was the option? So what would Trump's options be? You need, the world's richest man with his tech and his X account to generate, the momentum.
By the way, do you think Elon Musk will close Donald Trump's X account?
No, I think because Trump holds the cards again.
Don's calling back. Just a minute. Okay, Don, you're back on the air. They were wondering why you dropped. Donald Gallimore.
Yeah, my phone got too hot.
Your phone got too hot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell Pat to keep her hands out of your pockets.
Okay. John and Don, we're in the last 5 minutes of the show, and no, it's gonna stay G-rated. Okay, who's ready? Who's ready for their conclusion?
Don, did you hear anything that I had to say before your phone got cut off?
Most of them, yeah. But I didn't get a chance to hear the end of what you said.
Well, what were your thoughts on what you did hear?
No. First of all, the big beautiful bill is going to throw $1.5 trillion on immediately, and ultimately going to be up to 3 or 4 trillion. But in the long run, like you said, it'll relatively even out if everything works out perfectly. My main thing is that I'm concerned that people are thinking that what this man is telling them is the truth, when all he does is lie. And that's what I worry about, John, with 45, 47. Because everything he said, he contradicts himself. He's such a hypocrite. One of the biggest things was Zelensky in his T-shirt, berated by by Trump and Vance.
What about it?
For having a T-shirt on.
Yeah, and
okay, and then Musk is there with like.
Now let's get back to the T-shirt. What about the T-shirt?
No, I think he's saying the dress code. Musk dresses the same way as Zelensky.
I mean, did he promise not to say anything about his T-shirt? Because he said he lies all the time, and you have Zelensky's T-shirt. So I'm just wondering how he lied about that.
No, he was hypocritical. He said hypocritical.
Well, no, you said he lies about everything, like Zelensky's T-shirts, and that's why I said, what about it?
Well, when you're a hypocrite, you're a liar. You are automatically a liar.
That doesn't even make sense. Come on, Don.
Okay, let me explain it better. Elon Musk usually wears a T-shirt with a blazer over it and a baseball hat. Zelensky came in with a long sleeve collarless shirt. Trump wasn't even the one complaining, as his anal advisors were complaining.
Yeah, well, he's a leader. He's a leader of his country, and he comes here to America to ask for money and for arms to fight in this war, and doesn't even have the respect enough to wear a suit. For business. They're doing business. It's world leaders getting together. When have world leaders gotten together and just wore T-shirts or Hawaiian shirts? Let's have Hawaiian Day today at the G20.
Well, he could dress like Fidel Castro and put on an army uniform.
Now, Elon was a government employee, so to speak, advisor. Sorry, he's an advisor. So it didn't really matter. He's, as far as what he wore. But you're a leader of a country. Geez, please.
Isn't this another military? Zelensky had on a military T-shirt. It was
Isn't this another example of everyone slipping on the banana that Trump puts on the floor? It's part of his puppet show. How many for the last 8 years? Oh, this is the end of Donald Trump. Oh, he can't last any longer. They're going to impeach him. They're going to remove him. They're going to arrest him. Oh, he can't be reelected. Oh, he lost the election. He's done. He's finished. Oh, every week, right? It's the end of the world. He can't handle Putin. He can't handle He can't handle Zelensky. All this stuff. He's like, who's president? Trump.
No, he can handle those people. He's been dealing with Russia and China. Well, not so much China, but Russia. For all his adult life, his grandfather was
right. He's an international businessman.
And he was working with the Nazis.
The Saudis, all of them, the naughty Saudis. But
John, don't you know there's no way he's going to be elected president with 84 felony counts? Oh my gosh!
Wait a minute, it's not going to end.
That's why the minorities like him, because
it's not going to end pretty.
I think that we get distracted with the puppet show. At the end of the day, think about the important policies, because you get confused with the personality, the policy. He shut down the border. He shut down the border.
Money in his pocket. That's it, John. It's 100% about money in his pocket.
He could have made more money not being president. He could have been unbothered and not shot. But people try to kill him all the time.
Martyrdom. People are always martyrs. What do you think the protesters are? Who are just walking up to the police, turning around, putting their hands behind their backs. They're paid, yes, but they have a martyrdom syndrome.
Oh yeah, there's some money, but what I'm saying is his gig is I make money, you make money, let's all rock and roll. His puppet show, is that the illusion, like everyone gets caught up in all these things. It's like, remember Scarface? He says, even when I lie, I'm telling the truth. Right? He said, the rest of you are phony. I tell you what I think. Now the bad man's leaving. That the bad guy's leaving. The point is, what were the major issues? Shut down the border. He did it. What about trans? I don't want them messing with our kids and all this trans stuff in the school. Get it out of there. What about, again, the children?
Okay, we got 4 minutes left. 4 minutes.
But John, that's the reason people like him. That's the reason.
Yes, same thing with Ukraine, Russia. I'm going to go there and work something. Nothing was going on. It was just, the same thing with Gaza, Israel. Even if things,
he met his wives.
The point is, there was no talks or anything. He got them to stop. Even if the ceasefires don't stick, he easily.
Liar.
Oh no! What's hypocritical? It's up to Putin and Zelensky to do their thing.
Employees are illegal aliens, John.
Everyone's got them.
Yeah. And, as far as Ukraine and Russia goes, that probably, I think, I would say 75 to 80% would have been done with when Donald Trump came into presidency, from January 20th on, I think, within the first 100 days. But you have the UK jumping in there, meddling and telling Ukraine, no, don't. We'll support you. You have NATO going in there. Yeah. We'll give you everything you need to keep going. We want to tire Russia out to the point of bankruptcy and annihilation. So we'll back you. And they're undermining Trump because Trump had something going on there with them to where they were both mutually happy, with the deals that they were getting ready to sign. And now you got these other countries jumping in there going, no, Ukraine, come on, you can do it. You can do it. We'll help you. And so that's why that didn't get done. As far as Israel goes and Gaza, I don't know what happened there. I mean, we've got the whole thing where Trump said, what's his name, Netanyahu can kick rocks. And then somehow that changed to where, we're still doing things over there that we don't need to be doing. So
dictators love dictators.
But look at what Trump pitched to everyone. With Gaza, he said, listen, stop fighting, build some resorts here. You got great land. Greenland, let's merge. Let's make this all good. Let's stop fighting, stop killing each other. Same thing with Ukraine, Russia. Like, I don't want to see any more soldiers dying.
2 minute warning.
He's not the one
2 minute warning. 2 minute
He's the only
warning.
one talking peace. Go ahead. Same thing. I wanted them to stop this trans thing. I wanted the male-female identity. He got that. That's what I wanted. I'm happy.
You're wrong about that. Okay, Trump and Netanyahu, you're right about the fact that it's a land grab. This is the chance to take out most of it because they've been expanding the West Bank for 50 years. And they are able now to destroy a city and rebuild it in their own image, so to speak. So this is a pure land grab that they're continuing.
But what sparked it? Gaza, no matter how big Palestine gets, they let Hamas run them, or ISIS, or whatever groups running through. So the point is, no matter what happens, they're always going to get terrorized, and the bigger they become, if they triple the size of Israel, they will wipe them out. You know that. That's the plan. Hamas will not ever negotiate. So you have to get them out of there. So I actually, technically, logistically, militarily wise, it's a brilliant plan. To wipe them out. There's no infrastructure. Go back to your other brothers and sisters in Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Lebanon, whatever. You got plenty of space. Reabsorb. You lost. You keep them there. It's World War III.
They don't have room in Lebanon. Lebanon already took a million Syrians during that war.
The point is, if they're going to stay conquered and let Hamas run them, because you could say, well, they're innocent people. No, Hamas, they're Muslim. So you're an infidel. You come from the perspective they're nice, kind, wonderful people. When they go to the reporters go up to the kids there, they throw rocks at them, and they do the symbol of slashing the throat. Because they're growing up going, we will kill you when we get older. And we'll bring jihad, we'll bring Sharia
Okay.
law to you. It's very ignorant to say, oh, these are great, wonderful, peaceful people. No, you're an infidel. And the minute they have power, they will kill you or imprison you.
I have to end. You guys can keep talking, but I'm ending the show, okay?
Let's go get some tickets. Let's go to